Hello, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to our final part of Salima Project's online info session. And today our topic is divorce and separation. And we have Noora Dadi from Familia ry and Hilla-Maria Tuomi from Kaapatut Lapset, Abducted Children NGO Finland. And now I give you the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Janika. Yes, so shortly about us, I think both of our organizations have been in the series before, at least me, I have been here, and Familia also has been having some info sessions before. So shortly, do you want to introduce yourself first, Noora?
Yeah, hi everyone. Sorry for the voice today. I'm going through the end of my flu, and that's not very fun to go through. But yeah, I'm Noora Dadi. I'm from Familia ry, and Familia ry is an organization that was founded in 1988. It's a national expert organization for intercultural families. We support the well-being of intercultural families by offering peer support, volunteer activities, information, and advice. We also aim at making improvement in the social and legal systems so that the needs of intercultural and multilingual families and Finns would be better met. Thank you, Hilla.
Thanks. Yes, and I'm Hilla-Maria Tuomi from Kaapatut Lapset ry, Abducted Children Finland NGO, which was founded in 1997, and we help families in difficult divorce situations, I would say, especially in when the family has experienced child abduction or is experiencing threat of child abduction or a difficult international custody disputes. And we provide peer support, advice, and do our best to raise awareness on the topics. Yes, so today's themes include basic information about divorce and separation. And yeah, we will go through many different sides of the topic, I think. Did you have something to add, Noora?
No, it's never a fun topic, but it is a very important, especially in families. And I think both of our organizations are very much involved in such cases. So
yeah,
we can go forward.
Yeah, and this is something that often happens in families, so it's important to know some basic information, even if it's not something that is happening to you right now. It's good to have some information. We will speak of divorce, but also separation, even though there is no marriage to divorce from, but the themes of coping, children, parenting, they are similar, whether there is marriage or not. Yes. So this is for you, Noora, I think.
Yes, thank you. Yes, filing for divorce in Finland. Divorces in Finland are filed directly at the district court, käräjäoikeus, of your own area of residence. A divorce needs to be filed using applications from the application form that is provided by the court. And the filed form can be handed in the court in person or by post, or you can also have an authorized third person to take it. This usually happens when somebody is not in Finland or not close by. When filing for divorce, you do not have to tell the court about the reasons of the divorce. But after the filing, it starts the 6 months long consideration period, which you have to go through before filing for the second time, after which the divorce will be final and granted. The consideration period is obligatory, so you cannot skip it. Many people, like especially non-Finns, when they go through this, they are shocked that they have to go through this. The only way that this does not apply is if you've been living 2 years separated and you have papers and rents to prove it. Usually after filing for divorce, we talk about childcare, but like it could be in mutual agreements or through court, but this will be spoken about later on today. So I won't go too much details at this moment for that. Staying in Finland, that's a bit difficult thing that I see a lot of expats or foreigners go through it. Like, am I going to stay in Finland after this? I don't have family. What do I do? How do I go? Can I even stay? Some people are worried about their options. They might be applying for resident permit on family basis. So what they get into that fear. What if I divorce and it doesn't work out? If it's not working out, am I going to be sent back home? It depends on individual cases. Whatever your resident permit can be renewed after divorce or not. That's all up to the like the immigration services. So it is very important to inform the Finnish immigration services right away in the case of divorce. So you would be able to know what you can do and what you can't do. Getting a legal help, although divorces in Finland are usually filed and processed at the district court, and not all cases have to be dealt in a trial. The easiest and that is the easiest and cheapest way for both partners. To have agreements between themselves and to ensure like the mutual understanding between each other. However, sometimes the divorcing partners cannot agree on common solutions. If you or your ex-spouse take the divorce case to trial, or decision to formally appeal to court, you are usually required to hire a lawyer. If you cannot afford to pay for a lawyer, you might be entitled for legal aid, which is called oikeusapu from the state. So make sure to check your options and know that you have the right of that. So I think we can go to the next slide from here. Coping with divorce. There are usually some like intercultural issues which comes through familial a lot. We can see them a lot. Many struggles are common for divorcing couples everywhere, whether taking care of yourself emotionally or emotionally or physically, like finding solutions, maybe financial and living questions. Some challenges are faced more in intercultural divorces, and some are more common among the non-Finnish spouses side. During the divorce, foreign-born ex-spouse experience more identity struggles and often feels loss of belonging or caught between two cultures and the countries. language barriers can be a big problem that is found usually in those divorces as well. Sometimes the sense of discrimination can be also looked at as a common problem that been noticed. Sorting like practicalities step by step will help you to start feeling empowered again. Try to find a peer group for emotional support and lean on your social circle. Keep in touch with your family in Finland and outside of Finland, in your home country. And keep in touch with friends if possible to prevent the feeling of isolation. There are plenty peer support groups online. Try finding the suitable for you in the language that you prefer. If you can't find one, reach out to NGOs like Kaapatut Lapset and Familia, and there are many others. If we don't have the right group for you, we usually try to assist you finding what you need. So taking care of you, and then you need to be remember, be kind to yourself. So take care of yourself. Different feelings are okay. It is normal to feel sad and angry and exhausted. Give yourself a break. It is okay that if you don't function at your best sometimes. Don't go through this alone. Sharing your feelings with friends, families, and peers can help you through these things. And don't be afraid to get outside help if you need it. I think Hilla-Mari can talk more about the coping progress here.
Yes. Yeah, just like Nora said, divorce is a life crisis, huge one at that. So it's a good idea to acknowledge that I'm going through something so big and so life-changing that I may need help, I may need time. And yeah, it's a crisis. And one thing to note is that the people who are divorcing, you and your ex-spouse, both have your own processes that you have to go through, your own grief or crisis process that you follow. So as one might be more adjusted to the new reality, maybe finding a new partner already, or just like going on with life, the other one may still be in shock and like in the early stages of the process. So it's good to note that we each have our own processes when it comes to grief or crisis. So that may also result in some interesting interactions between the ex-spouses when one is already far in their process and one is in the beginning. Then it may result in misunderstandings and surprising reactions. So going through the emotional process and paying attention to your own healing is important, just as Nora said. This is important because it helps you, if you have kids, if there's children, it helps you to function as a parent and also in relation to the other parent. And of course, just because of you yourself, it's important to go through these things and get help if needed. As Nora said, you can contact NGOs like us and we will try to help you to find the suitable help for you. Many people benefit from peer support, but there may be times when it doesn't feel like this is the right time for peer support. Then maybe more, there are different types of support. So reach out is what I think. Reach out is the message we are trying to send here. So I will speak shortly of the emotional process of coping with divorce, or actually it's about any type of grief, in this case divorce. The source for this is Familia ry's online divorce course, which I can recommend. And I think actually our whole presentation is based on the structure of Familia's online divorce course. So I warmly recommend to go and check that one out. There's more information and some exercise also to practice, and yeah, to find out about your own thoughts about the topic. But yeah, as we are coping with something that causes us grief, there are different stages that we go through. It's to be said, I tried to draw it in this presentation, not as a straight path, but something that's yeah, it's more like a river than a straight path. There are stops, and sometimes you end up back in the earlier stage, and each process is individual. So this is to be said about the picture here. But yeah, basically the first stage would be denial. You may feel like, as I put here, you may think this can't be happening, or you may think, okay, this is something that will pass. It's not so serious as it seems. It's, yeah, just thoughts of denying the whole thing, thinking it's not going to happen. You are protecting yourself from the thought of it. The next stage would be anger. How dare you? How can he or she do this to me? But also you can be angry at yourself. Feelings of anger can present themselves in many ways. You can lash out, you can have the thoughts of I lost the word. Thoughts of doing something bad, harming the other, not maybe in physical way, but that's like things. Sometimes when we work with families, we hear things like, I don't want the other parent to see the kids anymore, or these kind of things. These are presentations of anger, and that is good to understand that it's part of the process, but it's also good not to be stuck in this stage. So if you find yourself having angry feelings continuously, then maybe there is something you still have to go through in your own process of coping with divorce. The next stage would be bargaining. That is a stage where you maybe try to, you may say, I will change, or things will be different this time, or if we do it like this and this, then maybe it can work out. Going back and forth with the decision is possible at this stage. Yeah, so that is that. Then the next stage would be depression, feeling so down and quite hopeless. And as in anger, you have energy and you have like power to do things. In depression, you may feel like you don't have energy to do much, and yeah, the feeling of hopelessness can be present. I will never find someone as special as my ex-spouse, or will I ever find love again? These kinds of questions can come to mind. But as time goes on, usually we end up in the stage of acceptance, when it's not necessarily a happy stage. You may not feel like joyful, but you may feel calm, that okay, this happened and I'm probably going to survive, and something positive can be in the future. So in contrast to depression, the energy level maybe is not so high, but you are starting to feel hopeful again. So this is the basic model, but as I said, some stages can change their position. And yeah, sometimes a person can be stuck in one stage, especially if he or she is not aware of the feelings or not going through them. So yes. There is also another link in the sources with more information about this. Another stage model that I would like to mention is the stages of crisis, which maybe in Mieli ry's presentation, maybe it was handled, but you can find it in internet, because also divorce is a crisis and there are different stages in how we process crisis. I will not go through that in detail, but basically it starts from the initial shock, which also can be similar to the denial, anger, but in the end, also the crisis process usually ends up in looking to future and finding new ways to live and cope. So there is light in the end. Then it's Nora's turn to speak about children in divorce.
Yes, thank you. Exactly. Every person, we need to remember is that every person is different. It can be siblings going through the same shock. One can get it faster than the other one, and so on. So as Maria was saying, that really you need to understand and find your own emotions and where you are. Children in divorce, what I would say in children with divorce, like how do you help them and their well-being? It is sometimes very difficult. Divorce and separation changes children's life permanently. So we need to remember that they would have their feelings shaken. Sometimes even security, they don't feel the security. For children, divorce or separation can be especially stressful, confusing, and it can be traumatic even at any age. We can talk about a very young child or even a very an older teen. This can be very rough ride for them. Shock, anger, guilt, sadness are all common feelings among children in divorced families. You can dramatically reduce your children's pain by making their well-being a top priority. So how do you tell your children about the divorce? You need to tell your child about the divorce together. Whenever, as soon as it is possible for both of you, sit down and both partners, soon to be ex-partners, need to explain to the child that it is this is what is going to happen. Telling the child together this news is kind of shows that you are still communicating and you are working together as parents. And also this will not drop the blame on one of the parents. I remember when I had to tell my daughter that I was getting divorced from my ex. For months, she was blaming me that it was my decision. It was my choice, even though it's just because I am the one who gave her the news alone. So make sure you give the news for the children always together, so the child will not have the possibility or minimizes the possibilities of blaming one of the parents. Try to give reasons why this is happening, appropriate reasons. Simply that your parents, for example, your mom and I have been constantly arguing, and it seems that we can't live together anymore, and we want to give you a better place. So that is why we want to argue less. So that is why we're going in separate ways. But that does not mean that you're going to lose either of us. We'll still be both your parents. So these kind of approaches you can get to your child. Give your child the time to adjust before doing big changes, like the moving of a school or moving out of the house. Sometimes just suddenly moving everything and changing everything can be very difficult for a child. So do them as slow as possible with them, step by step. Move the house first, and slowly then after that move the school or so on. Let your child grieve. That is the right of your child. It's a loss, so let them grieve. It is okay for them to go through all of those painful feelings, and it is their right and their own feelings. So as a parent, it's not your right to not allow your child to feel. Don't blame. This is a big don't blame and talk nasty badly about your ex-spouse. It is not your child's fault. This is an argument between adults. One of the parents might not be, you might not see your ex as the greatest parent, but it is not your child's problem. Being part of a conflict causes the most stress and can affect them even in their adulthood. So it can go very far. Avoid arguing with or talking negatively about the other partner in front of the kids, because she or he has the right of having a loving relationship with both parents. Another big don't use your child as a messenger. Anything you need to tell your ex, either say it yourself or send another adult, someone that you have decided to be the messenger between the two, not your child, because it will affect your child deeply for a very long time. Remember that your child also had the right for their identity. In the end of the it's formed with knowledge of their both cultures, both parents' cultures, and they need to feel that they have them both. It is their own. She and he was born because these two loved each other. So talking kindly to your child about your ex and the relatives and the culture and habits, they can affect amazingly on the identity of the child. So you don't want to prevent your child from their own identity. Childcare agreements. So this is something can be done peacefully. Peaceful agreements, negotiations with a mediator can be done, or even a juridical decision at the court. But I think I will let Hilla Maria talk more details about the child custody and agreements.
Sorry, I lost my video buttons here, but now I'm here, and I will go back. I think, yeah, this was the right one. So yeah, I will speak shortly of the agreements that are made in separation, or the things that have to be arranged even if the parents don't agree. I had a separate info session on custody, so I will not go into that topic today. But yes, these are things that parents have to arrange in divorce. Custody, residence, which parents the child lives with, or does the child live equally with both parents, equally shared time with parents, 50-50. Arrangements, people often speak of. Contact visitation, how much time is spent with each parent, yeah. So yes, I will go to give some examples of that. And of course, the financial things that often cause disagreements and often can feel difficult, but it's something that has to be handled also in separation. How to support the child financially. So the child support is always about the child and child's needs. Yes. So in an ideal situation, parents agree about how they will arrange these things after separation. That is the first step. However, of course, as we know, it's not always so easy to agree. You may need help to find the agreement, and sometimes it's still not possible. So, of course, try your best to negotiate, but also keep in mind that it's not easy and it's okay to have, sometimes you go back and forth with the options also. So it's not something that will just be agreed quickly in often cases, but most often parents in the end up agreeing about these things, even if it's not easy at first. And sometimes it's easy, of course. Every family has their own process. Depending on the child's age, the parents have to discuss with the child about any decision made concerning the child, and also listen to the child's wishes about how to arrange things after divorce. All children should be heard, but of course you hear a 3-year-old differently than a 12-year-old. Yeah, then residence, where the child lives. In the agreements, it can be set with one parent or equally shared with parents. But even if the child lives equally with both parents, the child's address can only be in one place. So this is something we will have to decide. Where is the address and how does the child live mostly in one place and visits the other parents, or do we try to share the time equally? Contacts. Yeah, I was saying contact is about how much this child spends time with each parent. And there is not only one or two ways to agree about contact. Often there are some models that are often used, for example, every second weekend or week by week, if you want to do 50-50, but none of these are set in any rule book. You can figure out the model that works for your family. There can be weekends, there can be daytime visits. 50-50 timetable can be arranged in many different ways. 1 week with one parent and 1 week with other is probably the most usual one, but if your child is very small, it can be 4 days. Yeah. What I'm trying to say is that you can choose what fits your child best and make that kind of agreement. You don't have to stick with some specific model that has used before by others. So the important things that are to be considered when making an agreement about contact visitation rights, you have to think what your child needs. The children's needs vary by age, by personality, and also the daily life of the child, hobbies, school. So it's important to try to make the child's everyday life as smoothly going as possible. And that is something to think of when making these agreements. contact is not only visiting, it can also mean phone calls, video calls in between visits. And especially if child and parent do not live close and do not see so often, it's important to have other type of contact also. Those ones, all these things can be set in the agreement. In addition to visitation, you can set in the agreement, if needed, that the child will have, let's say, 2 phone calls per week with the other parents, if you need this kind of structure. Yes. Families are different in this topic also, in the sense that others don't need a structured agreement and others find it helpful. Something about child support, which can cause, yes, as I said, it can cause disagreements and it can cause misunderstandings. Child support paid by other parents to the other parent is meant to make sure the child's everyday needs are met after parents separate. So it's not for the parent, it's for the child, even though the parent who lives with the child is responsible for using the child support. Parents can agree on the amount of child support, which is paid monthly, of course, most of the times. Or it can be calculated at lastenvalvoja, child welfare supervisor or officer. And there at lastenvalvoja, you can have the calculation made based on a specific form, which is based on it's based on instructions by Ministry of Justice. So it's not something that just comes up, but there are rules and fixed amounts that are taken into account in this calculation. So yeah, if you wonder why is it counted like this or why is it counted like this, you can always ask your lastenvalvoja about it. For example, there are general living costs for parents and children that are same for everyone in Finland. So yeah. And in the calculation, a child's need for maintenance is calculated and then it's shared between parents based on the parent's ability to provide maintenance. I cannot explain it so in such detail in this presentation, but you can see also for yourself. There is a link for elatusapulaskuri, which is in Finnish, unfortunately, but you can also try it by yourself, how it works. If the parent has low income due to, for example, unemployment or having been sick for a long time or some other reason, the child support can be lower and the residential parent, the parent who lives with the child, can get compensating support from Kela. It's called elatustuki in Finnish. If the parent's situation changes during the agreement period, the agreement can be changed accordingly. So usually or often, if the parents are working or the parents paying child support is working during the divorce, the agreement can be made up to when the child is 18 years old. But then if your situation changes, you don't have to follow that agreement until the child is 18, but you have to contact lastenvalvoja to make a new agreement that fits your situation. But you cannot change it by yourself. Well, that is not, that is not possible. So always make a new agreement if your situation changes. And if you cannot agree about the amount, child support can also be applied through court. Then some more information about making the agreement. So yeah, if the parents are able to agree by themselves, lastenvalvoja can confirm the agreement, and the confirmed agreement is as valid as the court order, so it can be enforced by law. If parents can't agree or need help in the negotiation process, they can contact lastenvalvoja or family mediation in their own town, and both of these services are free of charge. even if agreement can't be found even after using lastenvalvoja or mediation services, or for other reasons it's just not possible, it's possible to apply for decision from district court. As Nora said earlier, as the same as in divorce process, legal help is usually needed for this process. And you can apply as part of the divorce application, or you can start the process later on. Yeah, I made a small picture of how things could go, but this is just an example. So it could start so that parents discuss together, go to lastenvalvoja to confirm, or if they can't confirm or agree, then going to mediation, hopefully then going back to lastenvalvoja to confirm what was agreed in mediation. But if not, if agreement cannot be found, then even after mediation, it's possible then to go to court and then have mediation in court again, different type of mediation. So there are many places to solve these things. But of course, the most quickest and easiest one is to agree if possible. Then something why I speak so much of lastenvalvoja services is because I used to work as one, so it's something I have experience of. And I also think that many parents, there can be misunderstandings about this kind of service, and yeah, so why I'm speaking so lengthy about it is to make it easier to understand the service and maybe to make it less stressful to go to the office of lastenvalvoja. So lastenvalvoja, yes, English version is child welfare officer or supervisor, but I hear people use lastenvalvoja a lot, even if they speak English, so I use it also. So the goal of the meeting at lastenvalvoja is to come to an agreement, but not by any means. Before you agree, make sure you understand the agreement's content. You have the right to use interpreter, and it's paid by the social services. So if you need one, let the lastenvalvoja know in advance. It is usual that you compromise often at lastenvalvoja's office, so it doesn't go like that one parent gets to decide and the other one agrees, but you test out different options and in the end maybe agree on some kind of compromise. And it's okay to take time out. You don't have to agree by force at the first visit to lastenvalvoja if it's not possible, or if you see that this is not going to work for our child. So yeah. And lastenvalvoja has some specific tasks. He or she doesn't decide on behalf of parents, but instead helps parents to negotiate. The lastenvalvoja makes sure the agreement is enforceable, that it works legally, because it's not wise to put some things in the agreement that will not work legally. Lastenvalvoja also makes sure the parents have heard the child, the parents have spoken with the child about the agreement, and in some cases lastenvalvoja may also meet the child, but this varies between cities, I think, how it's done. And lastenvalvoja can help to calculate the amount of child support based on the parent's income and the child's needs. And in the end, they confirm the agreement, as I mentioned earlier. And they can also give you lots of information about other services that are available in divorce situation. Right now only in Espoo, but earlier also in Helsinki, there was this Eron ensiapupiste, emergency help point for divorce, that was run by lastenvalvojat and NGOs working together. And if you see your city or your town having something like that, feel free to go there and ask questions without booking a time. I recommend that service, because it can be difficult to get an appointment at Lastenvalvoja. It can take time. There is often queue. Then services like this kind of pop-up help can help in some quick questions and getting to know the service. Yes, I have spoken enough. Then I think it's Nora's turn.
Yes, thank you, Hilla-Maria. That was a lot of information, and it was very good information. Actually, Familia has been working lately a few times with the Lastenvalvoja in Espoo in the Europist. So we do. There are in many languages. They would give give advice. So I would advise really people who are not sure to go and ask their questions freely from them. Parenting after divorce, to support your child's intercultural background. This is more something that I have experience in as like a child of divorced parents, and also as a divorced parent, a parent who divorced my intercultural I separated from an intercultural relationship twice in my life. So one of the ways to support, you need to support, support these exact points, like language, the bilingualism or even multilingualism is a wonderful asset in life. So if your ex-spouse speaks a different language to your child, you can sign up your school-age child to have that language from school themselves. So, for example, my son gets Arabic lessons from school, but now there are a lot of support from different NGOs in Familia. We have with Kaapatud Lapsed, actually, it's a cooperating work as well, that we give also these kind of classes, or we will start to give these kind of classes for underage children. So if you're a parent that has no access to your ex's language, and it is one thing that your child at least should be involved in, or they don't have to know it fluently, but somehow get to know who they are through that language. You can take them and be part of these happenings, these classes. So under school age children, we're trying to support them more in Familia through the bilingual project. You can read books loud about both cultures. I don't speak Greek, I'm studying Greek, but I used to read so much about Greek culture to my child after our divorce, when we moved away from Cyprus, and to keep that person knowing their own identity, that this is part of who they are. You can listen to songs with your children. That's another way to do it. It's always fun dancing on music of the ex-spouses, cultural music or something, and get them to know these things. It's always nice to have that part. TV shows, films, YouTube videos. Today there are so many YouTube videos that children are interested in to know. Be and let your child to be in regular contact with all grandparents, cousins, family. It helps them with their identity. It helps them to know that they are loved from different people from around the place. It can be even here in Finland, a parent and grandparents are in another city. Video calls, chats, don't take those from that child, because they do help that child to feel loved and grow the identity of who they are. Celebrate holidays of both cultures, yours and your ex-spouses. Let them enjoy their heritage, their culture. Cook different food from both cultures, or even travel. I so often traveled with my child to Cyprus and Greece for her to feel that this is part of us. I also took her to Arab countries to know that this is also a part of us, even though there were no connections left anymore and nobody was talking from those families. I made my hard work to make sure my daughter had her identity filled. Talk positively about your ex's culture. Tell positive stories about the past. You have fallen in love with that person, so there has to be something positive in the past. So find those things and talk about them. Your child will appreciate those, and like when they grow up. Like I said, a good way is finding play groups or language groups or Facebook groups that have the same age friends, children, similar backgrounds. So you would find other people supporting you in that. It might be very difficult for a person to try to teach someone else's culture to their child. But if you have those kind of friends and people who have that culture in their life, that would be very helpful, and it would make it easier for you. As a child, many of my rights were taken by decisions my divorced parent did, and they affected me until very late age in my life. And this is the reason I'm today an advocate of those rights. So it is my right as a child to love both of my parents. It's not your right to tell me who to love and who not. Though I was born to those two parents, and I have the right to choose who is good or who's not. So that's my right. As a child, I have the right of both languages. So as a parent, you don't have the right to take from me a language that I should have known. I struggled for years trying to learn my other language, and that was not fair. And to have my own identity. I was lost. I was lost for many years until very late in adulthood. I'm today 43, and I think I have became like acceptant of my own and found my own identity in my late 30s. So that was not fair. Not fair that a parent would take from me another culture that is a part of my identity, and for me to find this loss, that I'm lost. I don't know who I was. So how angry you are with each other, it does not give you or doesn't give anyone the right to take something that is the child's, which was my birthright. So please do remember this when making decisions. Or what do you think, Hilla?
Yes, I totally agree. Of course, it can feel difficult at times, especially shortly after divorce, but it's very, very important, as Nora described. So work on your feelings in order to be able to do these things. Okay, so something more about being ex-spouses. Your relationship as spouses has ended, but you will always be the parents of your child. So this is something that was developed in Ensi- ja Turvakotien Liitto. And here is the link. It's called the Triangle of Co-parenting. So I will just go shortly through it. So yeah, Here you can see on the gray area, your relationship as spouses, it's cut. It doesn't exist anymore. You process it on your own, how it's ended, how it went. But then on the next level, you have parenting relationship to the other parent. And on top of the triangle is the child. So your parenting relationship exists after separation, and it supports your child to grow up in peace and balance as well as possible. Of course, then also each parent has their own relationship with the child. So this is something about the dynamics of the family after separation. The parenting relationship continues. Yeah, it just continues, not even until your child is 18, but it continues after, when your child graduates, for example, or when your child becomes a parent themselves. You are still their parents, both of you. So that is why it's useful to work on your parenting relationship, even though you are not in spousal relationship anymore. Yeah, and again, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's something to work on. And sometimes I hear people say that, yeah, I'm ready to work on it, but the other parent is not. You can only do your own work. You can work on your process and your feelings. Of course, you cannot work on the other one's behalf. But when you do your best, sometimes situations change. And at least you know that I tried my best in this. So co-parenting, sometimes harsh, but beneficial for your child. If parents can cooperate and not avoid conflicts, I think I chose the wrong word, I would say solve their conflicts as parents, it helps the child in the following ways. The child feels more secure in his or her life. The child does not feel responsible for the parents' actions and decisions. Sometimes if the parents don't communicate at all, as Nora mentioned earlier, the child may end up in the position where she or he acts as a messenger between parents, and that can be painful. Children easily feel a loyalty conflict between parents. So when they see that their parents can cooperate even after divorce, the loyalty conflict is less because they don't have to choose which parent is right and which one is wrong. And yeah, there is less everyday life hassles in a situation when the parents can cooperate. Because you can ask the other parents, please bring this and this clothes, or this and this happened. It's good for you to know, then there are no surprises as much as there can be if the parents don't communicate. But yes, sometimes it's hard, sometimes it works after some time has passed. Sometimes changes in life can bring new challenges to the parenting relationship. So don't worry, or don't feel too bad about if I just said that this is ideal. Yes, probably it is, but you can also protect your child in other ways, even if the co-parenting is not working in the best way. In those situations, then it's good to find help and support for yourself and your children, and the emotional separation process that I already mentioned, the process of grief. Go through it, process it, because that helps you to keep calm in conflict situations. I mentioned those feelings of anger. If you have passed that stage, then it will be more easy for you to maybe see the other parent as a parent and not as the annoying ex-spouse of yours. Find out about help services. This one we mentioned so many times, I'm sure everyone would remember it by now. And again, always keep in mind not to speak ill about the other parent to the child, because the child has their own relationship with the other parent, as I just showed in the picture. So it's separate from your feelings towards the parents. Oh, that was it. Yeah, do we have any questions or comments from Nora?
No, I think this was wonderful to do with you. Thank you for all what you brought into the table. I think it is very important. So thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. There isn't any questions at the moment. It was very informative, as I expected. and I hope this will give some, like Hilla said, that it's not exactly, or you both said that it's not exactly something like pleasant that you might go through in life when you have to think about divorce and separation and children, and your own feelings just come into the picture like automatically. It can't be avoided, but really you just have to put the child into the center of it all and think about the child's welfare. And there was a comment, thank you very much, very informative and very easy to follow. Thank you for that. So I think we have covered many different topics, and that is it. So thank you again for Nora and Hilla for joining us, and we will talk to you later. And
Yes,
thank you everybody to for joining us on our online info session. And this will end it now.
Thank you so much, Annika, and thank you to Amal because these informative discussions that you've had this past few weeks have been so great. Like, I wish I had those informations 20 years ago. They would have saved me so much trouble. They would have saved me so much problems. So thank you so much, and thank the organization. Like,
thank you.
Happily we're with you.
Thank you for that. And I will stop now this recording if I find a place.